Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, we're still 2 weeks removed from Stand and Deliver, but a lot of things could happen on here on out. We have some interesting matches to take place, but our main event features a steel cage match between Trick Williams versus his old buddy Carmelo Hayes, and we got very interesting matches taking place as well. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing two of Pro Wrestling Noah's much recent events. The first one is Star Navigation that took place on the 11th of April. This one features the GHC National Championship being on the line. Hayata, who issued a challenge against Jack Morris. That's going to be a very interesting match to watch. But the main event features, of course, two guys that completely hate each other. Keno versus Keito Kiyomiya. So this one is going to be a very interesting match to see. But the other Pro Wrestling Noah show, this one is their annual Monday Magic show. This one features, of course, the GHC Tag Team titles on the line, and of course the GHC Hardcore Championship. Plus, we do see, of course, an unexpected arrival from the former founder of Stardom making his way presence to let the world know who's here. But after that, we're going to be, of course, capping up with some news updates to tell you guys what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, and of course some developments that is happening in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, where all things is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jarrett here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do the more news updates on alert for everybody to keep you guys on your toes if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed upon. We also do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool stuff as well. But if you like this episode, please click on the like button or leave a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all things set aside, all introductions are said, I believe it's time to get this show on the road. So it's begin with one of two shows from Pro Wrestling Noah, and this one is Star Navigation 2024. Okay, Pro Wrestling Noah, Star Navigation 2024 in Corkin Hall that took place on the 11th of April. It opened up with a three-way match. We have Alpha Wolf versus Alejandro versus Ninja Mac. Now, when Alpha Wolf first appeared in his entrance, he was carrying the GHC Hardcore title that belongs to Ninja Mac. Now, during an event in the Monday Magic show, Alpha Wolf decided to take the belt, declare himself as the next challenger for the GHC Hardcore title. However, I'm sure you probably would guess it will happen on Monday Magic, which is the next review we're going to do after this. But however, the match itself, it was more of a bit of a momentum between both Ninja Mac and Alpha Wolf. So the obvious question is, who will get the momentum? But what about Alejandro? I mean, Alejandro could get involved in a title picture at some capacity, but I think the focus is more on Alpha Wolf and Ninja Mac. But it was Ninja Mac who finished off Alpha Wolf with a somewhat version of a 630 and Phoenix Splash that ended the match, and I thought it was pretty good. But he was able to take back his belt, and of course, leaving Alpha Wolf hanging. So we'll see what happens on Monday Magic, which is the next review. Now, our next match, we have Yu Owada versus Daiki Inaba. Now, Yu Owada has been incredible, growing so much as a young boy, learning what he needs to learn. But the real question, could he withstand a guy like Daiki Inaba? I mean, Inaba is a fantastic wrestler. We're yet to see him carrying a championship around his waist or his shoulder. But unfortunately, Owada is good, more of a resilient wrestler who refuses to surrender. He had no other choice until Daiki Inaba applied the DED onto him, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our next match, we have a 6-man tag match. We got the members of Team Noah, Hiroki, Asushi Koroge, and Mohamed Yane taking on GLG, consistent of Tadasuke, Yohei, and Anthony Green. So basically, you can tell that GLG is the most dominant faction in this one. Of course, in the perspective, Hiroki and Koroge, I don't know if Koroge would want, they could get another shot of the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, but unfortunately, it came into no avail until Tadasuke applied a pile driver onto Hiroki, and just like that, they continued the win. Now, our next match, we have Junta Miyawaki, Hajime Ohara, and Shuji Kondo. They take on Stinger members Yoshinari Ogawa and Daga. They are also having their third partner, Uka Zazaki. I thought this match was going to be interesting because Stinger is not an easy team to team up with unless you are on the same page as them. That's always been clear for them. But the one thing that was crazy is how this match ended. Zazaki was able to put Junta Miyawaki in a chokehold and completely passed out, and the referee had no other choice but, of course, to call the match, saying it's over. The match was won by Zazaki, and I'm sure Stinger were very happy with the result, knowing that, yes, this guy did his job. Nice work, kid. But however, when Miyawaki came to, he had no clue what just happened. He just looked more like he woke up from a nightmare. Almost choked on the referee, but Kondo and what's his name, and Hajime had to control him, telling him, "Hey, it's over, dude. Don't worry. Calm down." So he had no clue what happened. So he was still a bit hysterical. Now, our next match. This is the only championship match involved in this. Is the GHC National Championship, Hayata versus Jack Morris. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we did see Hayata was able to pick up a win by using the ropes by pinning Jack Morris, putting him in a deep state of shock. But the real question does tell, did he really got into Jack Morris' head? Jack Morris was determined to ensure he is not going to lose the belt no matter what. Well, it's no secret in the past that Hayata has learned how to cheat when it suits him. Where he is not much of a desperation. It's more like, hey, I don't give a damn, that sort of thing. But you would think that's it. But Jack Morris tried to murderize him throughout the entirety of the match. But unfortunately, once again, Hayata used the roll-up. Then, of course, used the ropes on this match and become the new GHC National Champion. And, of course, he walked away all happy, knowing that he got what he wanted. However, Anthony Green, who was in the corner of Jack Morris, they told him, look, he cheated, you know it, these people know it, everybody else didn't know it. But the real question is, can people acknowledge it? That's the one question I think many would probably question. But we'll see where that leads us from here on out. Now, our next match, we have a bit of a scramble match in an 8-man tag match. We have Kazuyuki Fujita, Naomichi Marufuji, Takeshi Sugiura and Go Shiozaki. They take on Masa Kitamiya, Rohei Oiwa, Jake Lee, and Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. So that kind of puts it on. However, um, Jake Lee was attempting to start the match against, I forgot who it was, but it was Go Shiozaki who wanted a piece of him. So basically, Go Shiozaki hasn't forgotten how the loss he had against him. But of course, the match went into a very interesting development. It was Go Shiozaki who, in fact, pinned Awiwa when he applied the lariat, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our main event, this is one of the most crucial matches ever. We have Kaito Kiyomiya versus Keno. Now, let me explain the backstory about these two guys. It's no secret that these two used to be friends back in the day, a few years back. However, when Pro Wrestling Noah was purchased by the company Ledet, uh, Ledet was mostly focusing on turning Kaito Kiyomiya as the much bigger star. But Keno has always been very opinionated about things. For example, he believes that Kaito Kiyomiya has been a fake wrestler, and declaring that he is full of himself and all this and that. He's always been very opinionated towards Kaito Kiyomiya, what direction he's been going to. I mean, claiming that he is the savior of Noah, claiming that he's the ace of Noah. So that's always been where Keno thinks, stop talking about crap that you think you know. Keno has always made a pleasure of making his life miserable. And of course, Keno doesn't hold back on what comes out of his mouth. It's been well documented throughout his career. Even if he does have opinions. He even thinks of Kiyomiya as a stupid fool, and that's always been the case. He even questioned why the hell the Kiyomiya went after Okada if he knew that Okada didn't want nothing to do with him, but Kiyomiya was foolish enough. So that's who Keno is, and that's how the story goes. And of course, Kiyomiya is getting sick and tired of Keno getting involved in his business, like saying, "Hey, I'm trying to do things right here," but Keno doesn't think he does. So this is more like, let's settle this once and for all, that type of thing. But you would think that Keno, who is one of the toughest SOBs on the planet, would have actually done his job, but apparently that wasn't the case. Kaito Kiyomiya was channeling, of course, the power of his old mentor, what's his name? Oh yeah, Keiji Muto, and he did. He actually applied the Shining Wizard, putting him out. So the question does tell, is this really over between Kiyomiya and Keno? Well, we'll see what happens, because, as I said, Keno doesn't hold back on his own opinions when it comes to pro wrestling or other people that he encounters. So we'll see about that. But right now, let's move on to our next review, which is the other from Pro Wrestling Noah, Monday Magic. Okay, Pro Wrestling Noah's Monday Magic. Now, those who are not familiarized with this show, this is a show that takes place every Monday at in Shinkiba Face all the time, and this is a self-produced show by none other than Nosawa Rangai after he retired from pro wrestling. He actually sometimes comes out in the show, makes surprises appearances, uh, bringing out wrestlers. Last time we saw him, of course, Julius showed up and he tried to propose. But anyway, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But if you guys don't have Wrestle Universe, go subscribe to it and everything will be fine. But right now, let's begin with our very first match. First match, we have Masa Kitamiya teaming up once again with his bud, Daiki Inaba. They take on Kaito Kiyomiya and, wait for it, Keno. Sorry, guys. It's like this, guys. This is what happened. Monday Magic, you don't know what to expect or what kind of matches you're going to see. Kaito Kiyomiya came out by himself, not knowing who his tag partner was. When his Keno's theme song hit, he was like, "You gotta be effing kidding me." It's like, I got rid of that guy. why am I putting this match with him? I mean, it was kind of insane. I'm sorry. The reaction with Kaito Kiyomiya knowing that Keno is his tag partner is the best. I just love it. But for some odd reason, Keno was being all nice to him. I'm like, this is not Keno. I mean, Keno is a tough SOB, very opinionated, doesn't give a shit, that type of person. But now he's being nice to Kiyomiya? I'm like, is he playing him or did something change? I don't know. Even in the match when he was trying to reach out for a tag, it's like Kiyomiya's like, I don't want to tag you in. But I mean, the match was great, but how this thing between those two had developed, it's just too awesome. But I can tell you that Kiyomiya did pick up the win when he applied the Shining Wizard Inaba, and then Keno hugged him and all this. He was being all too nice to him, like, oh my god. Oh my god, I think I'm gonna die for this match. Oh my god. No, sorry guys, it's just talking about it. Just I can't stop. Ever since watching this, I just couldn't stop. But we'll see how this thing goes. I think it's awesome. All right, get it together, J-Rod. Get it together. Oosa. All right, moving on. Oosa. Now, our next match, we have Alejandro versus Daga. This match went quickly, guys. I did not expect it. Alejandro made a very fast beeline to Daga. And he pinned him when he did an inside cradle under 1 minute and 12 seconds. That's very interesting. But, however, that means that Alejandro issued a challenge for the GHC Junior Heavyweight title, which is the last thing that Daga wants. He did state it, Daga, during the post-match comments that he's going to break every bone. But we'll see. I have to say Alejandro was smart enough because he knows that Daga will try to take his sweet time to break him in half. But I have to say he outsmarted him, so we'll see where that leads. Now, our next match, we have the GHC Tag Team titles. So, GLG members Anthony Green and Jack Morris showed up. Their opponents are none other than a bunch of mummies. Great Mummy 1 and Great Mummy number 2. Well, I can tell you this match ended with, of course, GLG retaining the belts when one of the mummies ended up in a Tiger Driver by Jack Morris and ended this way. And Jack Morris says, we're not here to fight mummies. Well, you might as well, because this is Monday Magic. Anything could happen. Now, our next match, we have Yu Owada. He teams with Rohei Oiwa to take on Oka Zazaki and Hayata. Now, as you know, Hayata is a current GHC national champion. Oka Zazaki has been very impressive in the last couple of months. But it was Hayata who pinned Owada, and just like that. I mean, Owada's a tough SOB. You know, he really learns a lot from Keno, but it was not enough. This next match, we have a Parayoshi Wrestling tag match. We have Miyuki Takase teaming up with the Ace of Marvelous and the current West Coast Pro Women's World Champion, Takumi Iroha. They take on the Great Sakuya, the daughter of the Great Muda, and of course, Nagisa Nozaki, the former ace of Pro Wrestling Wave. As you know, recently, when Miyuki Takase was dealing with the Great Sakuya, things have gone out of hand, but Takumi showed up in her aid to deal with, of course. Now, you would think that somehow there's going to be a winner in this match, but unfortunately, nothing happened. It ended in a time limit draw, but all of a sudden, a theme song just popped up, and then we saw Rossi Ogawa with his girls of Marigold. We're talking about Giulia, Utami Ayashida, Mirai, and Mai Sakurai. So they showed up invading Noah. Now, as you know, this particular day happened on the same day that, of course, Marigold has been launched by Rossi Ogawa. So Rossi Ogawa greeted the fans, and all this and that. He said something that pissed him off. He's saying that this is a great way level of partnership with them. And of course, Great Sakuya got in his face just looking at him. And of course, Rossi's like, hey, I did nothing wrong to upset you. And then it happened. Green missed Rossi. And people were happy because you do not invade in someone's territory. However, Rossi left knowing that he got missed, and then, of course, leaving the girls behind the deal what's going on. And then, of course, Nozaki got in the face of Giulia, and it turned into a brawl between both sides of the spectrum. So it's more like, people are already saying. Now, I mentioned this before during a news update. No, there is no working relationship between both Noah and Mighty Gold, which of course many of you probably would want, but it's not going to happen. So Rossi is trying to be more isolated as always, but this is a way of getting exposure for his promotion. Now, our next match, we have a tag team match, a 6-man tag match. We have GLG's Tadasuke, Yohei, and Jake Lee taking on Junta Miyawaki, Shuji Kondo, and of course, Iko the Dr. Wagner Jr. Now, of course, one thing is clear. Jake Lee has one thing in sight in his mind, and that sight is the GHC Heavyweight Championship that is currently in the hands of Iko the Dr. Wagner Jr. So that's what he wants. But however, he could not get the pin on him because he applied that big boot onto Miyawaki to pick up the win. However, during the post-match, he was declaring himself as the next challenger. But however, someone else decided to, of course, saying, I'm the next challenger. So, even though Wagner could not deny the fact these two guys are great champions, but the real question is who will be the one lucky enough to challenge him. So, Wagner decided that, how about this? Next week, the two of you, one-on-one at Monday Magic, will be the ones lucky enough to challenge me at Ryogoku. And of course, Jake Lee and Kiyomiya love the sound of it. So we will see a number one contendership. Now, our main event is the GHC Hardcore title, Alpha Wolf versus Ninja Mac. Now, of course, like any hardcore title we see, you have to imply bringing all kinds of weapons and plunder. I mean, we saw, ladders, kendo sticks, chairs. You would think that there was going to be all sorts of things. But, however, it was Ninja Mac who was able to withstand all of that pain when he applied a somewhat of that modified Phoenix Black 630 or so and retaining the belt. But, however, as soon as the match was over, we saw a surprise visit from Shuji Ishikawa. That's right, the same Ishikawa from All Japan and now the general manager of Evolution. He decided to declare himself the next challenger, and then he wiped out Ninja Mac, leaving him in the ground. So it's still unclear when those two will tangle, but I wouldn't be surprised if that match will take place next month at Wrestle Magic. So we'll see. But for right now, let's just end things right now with Noah, move on with NXT. Our final review, NXT. It opened up with Noam Dar versus Dijak. Now, this whole thing began right after Stand and Deliver. Now, remember, Metaphor were doing these things during the Stand and Deliver opening of the show. Dijak did not appreciate the fact that Jakara Jackson impersonated him, which, of course, Dijak considered that as an insult to him, but gave Noam Dar a warning. Now, Noam Dar wouldn't mind sticking up for Jakara Jackson, but however, looks like Dijak wanted to give him a brand of justice. However, you would think that Noam Dar would somehow get out of this. Well, he did, because there was distraction with everybody getting involved, thanks to Ora Mensa, but it was the Nova Roll by Noam Dar that picked up the win. And of course, they're happy that Dijak lost this match, that Noam Dar won, but I wouldn't be surprised, as a fan who knows more about who Love storytelling. I wouldn't be surprised if Dijak decides to get revenge on Metaphor. And if I was them, I would watch my back. Now, Ava Reigns has been in talks with Ilya Dragunov, of course, talking about the steel cage match that's happening at the main event. So Ilya Dragunov told him that he has the night off, but however, Dragunov had an idea. How about an open challenge to anybody who's willing to challenge him? But it's a non-title match. So she spread the word, and we'll see who will be the lucky recipient to step up against the Tsar, or the Mad Dragon, or however you want to call it. Now, our next match, we have Lola Vice versus Sol Ruka. Now, of course, you would think that Lola Vice, who's been frustrated because she had to deal with Natalia and all this, Sol Ruka, who has come back after dealing with that Blair Davenport, things would have been a good match. However, Sol Ruka was so close in defeating Lola Vice, but Davenport got involved, but it was, of course, Lola Vice with a spin heel kick that knocked her down, leaving, of course, the feud between Sol Ruka and Davenport continues. But however, during the post-match, Natalia, who is not done with Lola Vice after she screwed her out of the NXT Women's Title match, decided, you know what, at that is Spring Breakin, they will have an NXT Underground match, which is what's something that Lola Vice is very, very, very familiarized. So we'll get to that in a bit. Now, once again, NXT Anonymous has struck again. This time, Anonymous, whoever he or she or whatever he is, saw Ridge Holland talking with Ava. Now, we don't know what's the extent of their talk until Joaquin Wilde showed up. Now, Ridge Holland is trying desperately to, turn over a new leaf, but Joaquin Wilde doesn't believe that brand of Kool-Aid. So, it got captured, so we'll see. So I thought it was really funny. Now, we do see a little segment with Ariana Grace meeting up with Gigi Dolan. As you know, Ariana Grace is trying to change Gigi Dolan's ways, and it seems like Gigi Dolan is truly trying to accept it, but we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting storyline. I'm sure many of you would definitely like that. Now, our next match, well, we did saw what happened at the NXT in the NXT Anonymous. Ridge Holland had his match against Joaquin Wilde. Now, of course, we did see Shawn Spears. Now, we know he's recently been appearing in Ridge Holland's time, but basically, Ridge took out Joaquin Wilde with a DDT, and just like that. But as soon as Ridge Holland leaves, his shoulder bumped into Shawn Spears, and Shawn Spears had that smile on his face. I don't know what he is cooking, but I'm sure things are not going to look good. Now, Josh Briggs, as you know, he hurt himself in the ribs, so he's determined to be the next guy to challenge for the NXT North American title. But Ivar of the Viking Raiders decided to do the same thing too. So they set themselves who will be like the number one contender to do so. So we'll see. Now, we did see a little bit of a TikTok video by Brinley Reese working out with none other than Malik Blade and Edris Enofe. So, really interesting story, but it was really fun. So, now, we did see a little heart-to-heart talk with Professor Chase and Thea Hale. So, Professor Chase admitted to Thea Hale what Jay-Z Jane said was true. However, he always believed in her, always put his money on Thea Hale to prove that she is meant to be the next women's champion. And of course, you know, after what happened in that match, he said he just couldn't stand seeing her in so much pain. So he did what he thought was the right thing to do, you know. And of course, Thea Hale felt bad that, I'm sorry, I was mean to you and all this. So it was more like a father and daughter type of relationship. You know how the father always had a reason of the things he did, and all of a sudden you understand why. And I think it shows that Thea Hale realized that no matter what, Professor Chase always believes in her, always believes that Thea Hale is destined for greatness. And I think that's a good storyline to tell. Now, moving on. We did see the D'Angelo family making their presence known, giving out a promo. Now, we do know that Tony D'Angelo is still not done yet, in hopes that he would get a shot of the NXT championship, and of course talks about Andrea and of course Stax and Crucifino. But however, we did see no quarter catch crew. Now, note here, as you know, Drew Gulak was there. It turns out that Gulak was released from the company due to the allegations that happened with Ronda Rousey. So they decided to throw in a very fantastic story where, of course, the No Coach Kata crew asked the D'Angelo family for help to get rid of Gulak, but the condition is they cannot talk about that in public. So it basically went into that. So interesting storyline from there. Now, our next match is the Open Challenge by Ilya Dragunov. Now, the real question is, who will be the one to do it? Well, we saw the entire locker room empty out, but the one person who outsmarted everyone was Javon Evans. I thought, wow, he was very impressive. And I think this 19-year-old kid can push to the limits. But, however, that wasn't enough until, of course, Dragunov applied the Torpedo Moscow, and just like that. And then, of course, he picked up Evans, shaking his hands. I think he sees a lot of potential in him. So we'll see what happens from here on out. Now, Kelly Kincaid conducts an interview with Carmen Petrovic. Carmen Petrovic talked about how she's going to be helping train Natalia for the NXT Underground match against Lola Vice, and she's very excited. However, Lola Vice thinks that, go ahead, be her training partner for all I care, because she's not going to like who's going to be in my corner. So I can think I know who would be the one person in her corner, and I think many of you may be thinking the same thing too. Now, our next match, we have Thea Hale versus Tatum Paxley. So, match would have gone great. I mean, like as I said, I like the story how Professor Chase admits, yes, I put my money on you in hopes you would win, but I did it because I believe in you. And of course, after that whole mess that he threw in the towel, he did that because he didn't want to see her suffer. So, but however, things did not go exactly Thea Hale's way, because Jasmine Nix got involved, and then so is Jay-Z Jane. And all hell broke loose amongst this, of course. Tatum Paxley picks up the win, and then, of course, Thea Hale went after Jay-Z Jane and tried to stop this. But, however, Tatum Paxley was attacked by Lyra Valkyria, so all things worked out. Later on, we did see Ava Reigns, the general manager, talks to Roxanne Perez that there's going to be a three-way match for the NXT Women's title. Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley. So I'm sure that's going to be a very interesting storyline to go into. So we'll see. Now we do see Malik Blade, Edgerton take on AOP. Well, this was a match where we saw the Final Testament sending a message to everyone, but however, they got brutalized by AOP, and it was Inoue who was the one who was pinned, and that was it. I don't know, I cannot remember AOP's name, the actual guy's names, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. Next, we see Josh Briggs and Ivar. I mean, this was a hoss fight if you don't know what I'm talking about. But it was crazy. But however, you can tell that Briggs was... You probably think that he is not 100% well because of the ribs. That kind of played out a factor. But it was Ivar with an insane moonsault that put away Briggs and picked up the win. So we could see Ivar possibly challenge for the NXT North American title against Oba Femi. Now, our main event, we have the steel cage match between Carmelo Hayes and, of course, Trick Williams. Now, this is a very interesting matchup. Now, Hayes is trying to get back into a shot of the NXT title, but also trying to prevent Trick Williams from reaching the top. But, of course, Hayes was going to bring his personal security to get involved, but that was up to no avail. But, of course, Trick Williams walked away with the win when he did the trick knee onto him when Hayes had the chair and blammo right in the face. It was over. So, We do know now that Trick Williams has his sights set on Dragunov and the NXT title. So nothing's going to stop him from achieving his goal. We will see what happens from here on out. So I think that's pretty much it with all the reviews. Let's move on with, of course, our news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with updates with the promotions for their upcoming events. Later on this weekend, on the 20th of April, RevPro will have their Epic Encounter show. And of course, Michael Oku, our current RevPro undisputed British heavyweight champion, will defend his belt against a guy named Zazoya. I don't know who he is. I don't know much about him. Now, let me pull out my phone here. Scott Edwards out from Fightful Select Voices Wrestling, who's been mostly keeping tabs on what's been going on in Yoshi World, has revealed about the two cards for this weekend from Stardom, Saturday and Sunday. Let me pull that up for all of you so that way you guys get it clear what the matches. Now, much of these matches are the final ones before we get to, of course, the All-Star Grand Queendom the following weekend. So these are prelude matches before we get to that. Let me pull that up. Here it is. For the Saturday show in Kobe, we have members of EXV. Maika, Mina, Zina, Waka, and Hanako. They'll take on Oedo Ties, consistent of Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora, Starlight Kid, Raka, and Fukigen Death. Now we do have our next match. We have members of Cosmic Angels, consistent of Sayori Onoi, Tam Nakano, Yuna Mizumori. They take on the members of Stars, Hanan, Mayu Iwatani, and Koguma, as a prelude to, of course, the match that Hanan will have against Sayori Onoi. We do have Suri and Saki Kashima, Rana Yagami taking on members of Queen's Quest, consistent of Sayakami Tani, Azumi, Miyu Amasaki. And there's also the members of Stars, Azuki, Saida, and Momo Kogo. We do have a four-way match taking place. Amisori versus Lady C versus Natsupoi versus Rian. And then, of course, we have the tag match. Crazy Stars, Suzuki and Meisira. They will take on the rookies of Cosmic Angels, Sayaka Kurata and Aya Sakura. Now, for the Sunday on the 21st, in Osaka, of course, the Goddesses tag team belts will be defended. Suzuki and Meisira defend the belts against the members of Prominence, Risa Sera and Kurumi Higare. And then there's a Queendom preview taking place. We have Maika, Sayuri Onoi, and Mayu Iwatani. They take on Momo Watanabe, Hanan, and Natsupoi. Then we have, of course, members of EXV that will be teaming up. We have Mina, Zina, Waka, and Hanako take on the members of Oedo Tai, Natsuko Tora, Starlight Kids, Raka, and Fukigen Death. We have a six-person tag match. Azuki, Koguma, and Momokogu of Stars taking on God's Eyes, Suri, Amisori, and Rana Yagami. Then we have a three-way match. Saki Kashima versus Sayaida versus Rian. And then we have, of course, another 8-woman tag match. Members of the Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Yuna Mizumori, Saya Kurata, Aya Sakura. They take on Queen's Quest, Sayakami Tani, Azumi, Lady C, and Miyu Amasaki. So that is the card for, of course, for both weekends. Now, on the 23rd of April, Prominence will have the show, but this one's a very interesting one. This was announced that this will be the last final match for Nao Ishikawa. For the Prominence, so her opponent is Miyaku Matsumoto. Now, if you probably ask yourselves, why is this her last match with Prominence? As you know, she is now going to be working with Mighty Gold as a full-time roster member. This is something that I think many fans are looking forward to it. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but hopefully I can. DEFY Wrestling for their upcoming event in May on the 10th. Progress Wrestling Tag Team Champions, Sanity will defend their belts against Midnight Heat. A brand new show has been announced by the Japanese promotion P.P.P Tokyo for the on the 17th of May. This one's called A Fantastic Phantom, a Dream Live Night. They did announce this will take place in Shinjuku Face. Two matches have been announced. First one is a 6-woman tag match. We have Chanyota, Zones, and Kaho Kobayashi. They take on Summer Violet, Veni, and Liara. And then there's another match that was announced, a tag match. We have Matsuro Tanaka, Kentaro Hashizu. They take on Yumihiro Inamari and Koji Doi. Now, Deadlock Pro Wrestling for their limited break that takes place on the 19th of May. I did mention that Roderick Strong will be making his debut on that day. They just announced for his opponent is none other than Fuminori Abe, which I'm excited to hear. And then finally, GCW has announced for two events returning into two different cities. They'll be making their return to St. Louis on July 19th. No name or who's going to be participating has been announced. But on the 20th, they make their way back to Indianapolis. So we will see what happens as we get closer and closer in the upcoming months. Now, exciting news. Konami, who was in the press conference for Stardom for the All-Star Queendom, has announced she has returned to Stardom full-time. She's been away for 2 years due to some health issues. I'm glad she's back. This is going to be exciting news for everyone. Fightful Select has reported Guilia will be making her NXT debut at NXT Heatwave in July 7th, and most likely she'll be the one to challenge for the NXT Women's Championship, and I think many of you would probably want to see that. Jeff Jarrett has announced that he has launched his Global Force Entertainment. We know that this was a promotion he had launched before. I think it was called Global Force Wrestling, but now it's called Global Force Entertainment. Not sure if he still will work with AEW or he's planning to resign and just focus more on that. We don't know. So we'll see what happens. Wrestling Observer has announced that Motor City Machine Guns are finalizing a deal with AEW. So there's been talk about from many people within the TNA roster that most likely Motor City Machine Guns will be making their way to AEW. And if that's true, I wouldn't be surprised that they will make their official debut, not in a match, but more making their appearance. Whoever walks out as the winners of the AEW World Tag Team Championship match at Dynasty. Now, Karl Anderson has been on Busted Open Radio, revealing that he was the one who texted Triple H and told him about Tama Tonga's contract expiring with New Japan. And of course, he revealed that Tama Tonga had no idea that he was going to make his debut recently, and I think that's a good thing. So he revealed a few more details than that. So you could say that a former Bullet Club member has done some good deed right there. Fightful Select reports from Matt Cardona that many of the promoters revealed that he had suffered a torn pec and it required surgery. So whatever bookings he was involved in, looks more like it's not gonna that he will be back down. So we still don't know what's gonna happen. And finally, Shota Umino has celebrated his 27th birthday. However, he had Kaito Kiyomiya visit him to celebrate his birthday. However, because of what happened in Monday Magic, you guessed it, Kano showed up. Oh my god, this is gonna be fun. But yeah, alright guys. I think that's pretty much it for our news updates and reviews. Let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have, of course, AEW Dynamite. We're getting closer and closer to Dynasty, so we will see what happens until then. As for upcoming other reviews I may do, I haven't decided yet. I'm still behind on the GCW Collective on that, and of course, an All Japan show and a show from Sendai Girls. So we will see how that will progress at the moment. But as of right now, this is what I have for all of you, and we'll see how this one will go. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day.